Hi, welcome to another episode of When We Heal, the World Heals. I'm Trish Hay, your host. So excited to share one of my favorite women that has made the greatest impact in my life, Evette Rose. She is a counselor. She is an author of 19 books, founder of Metaphysical Anatomy Technique and Institute, and it's just such a wonderful resource in trauma and an expert in many things, but also a wonderful retreat host. And how I met Evette was going to her Reveal the Woman Within retreat in Bali in just March this year, and my life really changed and transformed. So when I started this podcast, she's on my list to definitely one of the top ones to interview, because she shared with me and us on the retreat and others about her healing journey as well, and how she transformed and changed her life and then implemented her techniques. And I got blessed to be a part of that. So welcome, Evette Rose.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited, so thrilled. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction as well.
Yeah, and thank you for being here. I just feel like there's just so much I want to share and so much I want you to share. And what do you feel comfortable sharing just a bit about your past? I know you went through quite a healing journey that led you to this. If you can share a bit with us about that.
I would love that. Absolutely. So I think as most of us, when we step into personal development, it's not because our life is going great, right? So I was also one of these, someone who was seeking relief from the stress, from anxiety. I struggled with depression. I struggled with very, very toxic relationships, which was, in hindsight, what I didn't realize at the time was a reflection of my dynamic with my father. My father was my greatest challenge, and also ended up being, as we realize when the pain subsides and we can see life with clarity, also my greatest teacher. And I was the only child. So when there was challenges, everything was, I had to bear the burden by myself. There was no one else to share it with. And so I grew up Christian, very strict Christian, the type where, they said, God is, angry, and God is jealous. They don't want this and that, and you're not allowed to be psychic, and it's a sin to be psychic. And then my dad was an alcoholic, he was a drug addict, and he was a clinically diagnosed sociopath. And he was not an easy person to live with. For anyone who probably understands, and I don't mean psychopath in the loose sense where some people say, oh, that person is so mean, they're like a psychopath. I mean in the real proper clinical sense, not something to be thrown around loosely. And he it wasn't easy. I mean, when you look at someone who cannot digest emotions and the world from a normal, humane, compassionate perspective, it challenges how you see the world and how you feel in yourself and how you respond to life. And thank God I had my mom, who was this peacekeeping saint, who was just trying to always keep the balance. So I had my reference for what compassion looked like, and the peacekeeping and kindness and humbleness. And then I had the absolute opposite extreme. So to live my life in this constant dual balance was incredibly confusing. It was very confusing. My sense of self-love was completely distorted. My sense of what a relationship or what a man's role in a woman's life should be like was completely distorted as well, defragmented, if it feels is the best way to quite frankly describe it. And having grown up in this chaotic, dysfunctional way, the core foundation of my life ended up being chaotic and dysfunctional. But when you grow up living your life a certain way, that becomes your comfort zone. That becomes almost your safety zone, because that's all that we know. If you don't have something else to reference your life to, then we don't question what we go through. We just accept it and we try to just push through, right? We just build our coping mechanisms around this. And unfortunately, in most cases, because we cannot define or understand the problem or the pain in itself, we don't know which solution to apply. So we grab onto whatever makes us feel good, even if it's just for a split second. Right. And this is where addictions come in. This is where alcoholism come in. This is where destructive behavior comes in. And that became my path. Right. So I grew up and long story short, but I ended up having very destructive relationships because that was my reference for how my father treated me. And our inner dialogue and our relationship with ourselves end up becoming a reflection of how we were treated in the past. Most cases during our childhood, because there's no reference. There's not a lot of option to have boundaries, to express boundaries. And maybe the boundaries that we did have were completely squashed, especially if you have a parent who's traumatized themselves. They lack the sensitivity to recognize when your boundaries are being overstepped, when to be a little bit more just in the flow with what the child also needs and not make it all about them, because they're so much in survival mode that a parent often forgets, where does the child fit into my survival journey? Right? So a lot of things ends up being overlooked, not intentionally, unintentionally, but the child suffers as a result of that. And I ended up being pulled into this tsunami wave, is what I would call it, of a life, and my mom just trying to balance everything along the way. And these destructive relationships that I had was absolutely terrible. Some was verbally violent, some was physically violent. I had partners who were alcoholics as well. And the frustrating part is that when your need for love, your definition for love is chaos and destruction, then that is what we align with, even though our cognitive mind tells us, but this is stupid. Why am I in this? But we feel the pull, and we can't let go of that pull. And it's because that pull is in resonance with what our subconscious mind and our nervous system is programmed with. It's used to that. Now that these are all implicit memories, a lot of this is also in resonance with emotional trauma that's already layered in before the age of 3. So there's not even cognitive memories to go back and dive into to try to undo that. We have to learn how to feel our way through what the body's trying to say. And so that's why a lot of people struggle with anxiety, social disorders. I mean, the list can go on, mental health problems, because a lot of the trauma happens before periods that we don't even remember. And even if we do remember, we have also disassociation and the freeze response, which causes us to not remember what had happened. So we're stuck with symptoms. What do we do with all these symptoms? Toxic relationships is a symptom. Anxiety is a symptom. Self-hatred, self-loathing, these are all symptoms. What do we do with these symptoms if we don't really truly understand what they even are? Oh, but let's go love ourselves. Let's go look at a workshop and let's go figure out, how do we love ourselves? Most people don't understand the definition of self-love because they haven't fully aligned with the vibrational match of that. It's like people who say, I want to go manifest money. I want to go to a workshop and manifest money. Well, that's great. Well, if you have trauma with money, you can say as many affirmations and mantras as you want. It's not going to come. We need to heal the trauma and the pain that is attached to the very thing that we want. And sometimes it's a bit counterintuitive. We don't want to go to the very thing that we need to go to in order to heal, so that we can align with the truest and highest vibration of what it is that we want. And that's why in Metaphysical Anatomy, what I learned from having written this big book, this is one of my 19 books of 722 elements, and the psychosomatic suppressed emotions behind that. And it's being used now in hospitals and universities and anyone who just wants to get to know their life better. I interviewed 7,000 people while I was writing this book. And let me tell you what I learned from working with 7,000 people.
What?
You don't have to relive trauma to heal it. A lot of us associate healing with having to go back to the past. Well, good luck doing that if you have a hippocampus that completely is defragmented, meaning it couldn't consolidate memories because of the constant high states of cortisol that's being released because we're in the state of fight or flight and survival. Which memory? It's scattered. It's all over the place. That's why a lot of us don't remember what happened back in the past, right? So there's so many challenges in relationship to that. That's why I say Memories are great, but I don't place all my bets on it. We can talk about it, but we don't use that as the main entry point. What we use as a main entry point, we work with how you feel right now, because that's the most obvious, the most clear, because it's because of that that you came to me. And anyone who comes to my workshops, that's what you're feeling right there. That's why we're working together. And that is the best and most safest entry point, because the work is so beautiful and it's so deep that it takes you exactly where you are. And the healing penetrates to the deepest points, because what you're feeling right now is an expression of what had happened, whether it is a procedural memory before the age of 3 in the nervous system, whether it is a defragmented cognitive memory from the hippocampus that's layered out throughout the emotional body as well, which, because I call this the emotional body, because we store emotions throughout the body. I'm going to be talking at a medical conference now in London in a few days with my research as to how emotions make us sick scientifically, right? Not just, oh, but it's this, it's that, oh, it's because of this chakra. No, this is hardcore science. These are absolute facts. We have psychosomatic illnesses also that is recognized in hospitals, like irritable bowel syndrome, stomach ulcers. These are not real medical ailments. They are psychosomatic ailments, which means emotions causes these ailments. Right. So the power of our emotions are incredible. And when my life really truly changed was when I was 29. I had what's called broken heart syndrome. I had a heart attack. I was in hospital from grief and stress, because so many things in my life collapsed at one point, and I went through quite a traumatic event on that specific day. And my heart just said, enough, enough. And let me tell you, when you lie in that hospital bed and you feel, and I was an atheist at that point, because I was so distraught and so traumatized and distressed of everything that happened to my life. And I'm like, God, where are you? Call upon our Father and I will help thee. Where were you? Right? So there was a lot of blame. There was a lot of victimization going on. There was so much that I needed to get through, and I couldn't get through it, because being a victim became my identity. And I couldn't shake off that identity, because who am I if I'm not being powerless in my life? I didn't know how to step out of that powerlessness. And so the stress that I had to experience going through all this powerlessness, it literally caused my most vital organ to fail. It failed because it just reached its limitation. And let me tell you, when I remember I was in the car and this whole left side was numb and I was collapsed on my lap and I was so out of breath, I thought, I'm going to die from suffocation and not from my heart at that point. And I negotiated for my life. I had some real, raw, honest conversations. And that was a moment where I did call on God. And I said, I know that you're there. I didn't believe that you were, because I was angry with you, but I know that you're there. And I know that you're listening to me, because in the Bible, you say that you don't leave any of your children behind. And now's a moment where I really need you. And there was a beautiful reconnection there for me. But that was also, long story short, that was a moment where I had to realize, you're okay?
Go ahead, sorry.
You're okay. And so that was a moment where I had to realize that I have to say yes to life. What kind of way of life is this? My emotions that I didn't want to look at, it nearly completely ended everything for me. That's the power of our emotions. And let me tell you, I have built a newfound respect for the power of our mind and the power of our body. Just as your emotions can be so strong. It's strong, I know. There's so much in emotions, and I think there's something deeply also that maybe is also in resonance, right? Like that old part of you where you can go like, yeah, there's an old part of me that also went through the ringer of all of this,
Yeah, it's something.
And coming out on the other side was the most liberating experience.
Excuse me.
All right, let's just pause a little bit. We can edit. Yeah. You're okay.
This is coming up.
Sorry?
I don't know what this is. What this is.
That's all right. It's just that I think it's just that maybe old residues, maybe of resonance, right?
We'll edit it out, but
Like,
because I had no cough and it's like all of a sudden so
but
strong.
remember when I speak, this is part of my life purpose. When I speak of emotions, when I speak of healing, my words and what I do is automatically designed to help people heal on the spot.
Yeah, I could feel
Remember that.
this transmission. It's like,
Yeah. And so just have a little light down there. And I would like you to imagine that that light is just there. And now it's just expanding. It's expanding whatever needs to come out and be released now. And just talk to that part of your body that feels always maybe this is, oh, here, that's what it is. There's just a small little part of you that feels, I don't want to be, I don't want things forced out of me anymore. I want it to be my choice now. And it's just that little girl that's now actually saying that. So I would like you to speak to that little girl and just tell her right now, you know what? You don't have to be forced to do anything anymore because I, as the adult part, I can handle this. And I want you now to go play. Ask her what does she want to do instead of being in a place of resistance. Ask her that. What would you like to do instead now?
what would you like to do instead now? She wants to play. She's been saying that to me a lot. Like she wants to
Very
play.
good.
And there are
So
some
what,
things, that I know are out of alignment. That this
no, we're
week
not going to go.
especially.
Don't analyze. Let go
Oh,
of that. Let go of the
yeah,
out of alignment. Just, she wants to play. Perfect. I
wants to
want you to
play.
look at her. Look at her and tell her, go play now.
Go play now.
And watch her run away and watch her play. And knowing that she can play now because she knows that there's an adult part of you who can fully handle what you want to do. And we don't need her. She can go play.
Yeah.
She no longer has to feel forced. She's released from that now because she was forced into an adult world that wasn't meant for her. She wants to play, let her play. I want you to feel that freedom of her playing now. Feel how the weight and of that stress of having to hold it all together and just always having to be strong and just pushing through and just, oh, wow. I don't have to do any of that. I can just play. How
I
does
feel
that
better.
feel?
It feels better. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you for
welcome.
acknowledging that because that coughing started coming up and I was like, stop coughing, we're recording. And then it's like, but there was a message, yeah. And
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. That's all right.
yeah. And yeah, it's like she wants to play in a greater level. So I'm really grateful. So thank you for
Yeah.
that little mini
You're
session as
welcome.
well. I was
It was just,
having,
yeah, it was there was just that little conflict there and it was her just trusting and knowing, but the adult part of you who is here now can handle this
yeah,
easily, like that. She
yeah,
doesn't have to do anything. She can go play. It
yeah.
was her conflict. She was pushing back. I want to do this. I want to play.
Yeah, go play. She wants to come to Bali. I'll tell you that. She tells me that all the time.
There
Her
we
child is
go.
like, go play, go to Bali. So I am working on that. So, but before I started coughing like that, I'm trying to remember what you were discussing, but
That's
thank
all right. So we were actually talking about my heart failure
Oh boy,
because of all the emotions and having to push
yes.
through,
And I
right?
was thinking about my hospitalizations that I have been through as you shared that. So maybe that's why I got
There
such
we
a visceral
go.
thing too.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
you see.
Well,
Okay, very good.
yeah,
And
it's all
so,
connected. Yeah, it's all connected.
oh, believe me, I know.
Yeah, I know you know. It's like you helped me with this. So it's like there's even more. So thank you. Okay. Yes, please continue on then with
Yeah, that's all right.
your
And
sharing.
so, yeah. And so, what I learned from that process was the power of my emotions. And just as much as your emotions can influence you, it can also be the greatest gift to life, because when we enjoy life, when we feel great, it's because we emotionally feel good. And so I had to learn how to fall in love and understand the power of our emotions and turn that around and make it work for me in my favor. And so that was a very pivotal turnaround point for me, where I had tremendous respect for emotions and also learning to understand how important it also is that we look after our emotional health, because I was very much about cognitive health, mental health, but these thoughts, they run throughout your entire visceral body, like in your tissues, in your cells, in your fascia. And it was about learning to understand where these emotions are being housed, where do they live, and then learning how to release that without having to relive the past. Because I once did go through a process where a practitioner took me through, because I was sexually abused as a child, and taking me back to these memories. And I didn't know that the process was going to take me back to the memories, and I relived the trauma, and the trauma came up so severely that it triggered the practitioner to the point where she couldn't complete the session because she herself also had sexual abuse, but she didn't deal with her trauma well enough to hold the space for me. So it was a complete mess. It was very traumatizing. And I was so off put by healing work and just not wanting to go back into it, because my association with it was now so incredibly painful. And now we have a negative association, or we associate stress with the very thing that's meant to give you the greatest relief and set you off on your path to freedom. So it's all, and this is where I learned also the power of how we approach our trauma and stress, and making it one of my greatest life missions to make it as gentle and as graceful and powerful as possible. And so through working with breath work, working with my healing ability, and also what I teach in Metaphysical Anatomy Technique, because it's an actual technique, how to work with the biology, how to work with trauma, how to work with different body parts. And then also along with my crystal bowls, my 7 crystal bowls. And this is such a powerful combination of just knowing what right question to ask. Where in the body is that stress? And then going through the healing process and the journey of that by releasing it. Because we release it in within us, we release the stress or the imprinted memories, programs from our parents within us, we release that. We work through the ancestry, releasing these inherited patterns there as well. So it's absolutely fascinating and quite powerful, where I realize, but this can be easy. And I love showing people that it can be easy. And so this is one of the reasons why I do these retreats, because a lot of people, they don't want to learn the technique. They don't want to go there and learn a process and how to do it on themselves. A lot of people just need to decompress. A lot of people and women, they just need to breathe and just go to a space where they can heal. They're just looking for a healing space, because there's a lot of retreats. What I've come to learn is women go to retreats, you have coffee and tea in the morning, you talk a bit, you do some talking circles, and then you go about your day, and then that's it. And what I always have to make very clear to ladies coming to my retreat, this is not a social retreat. This is a healing retreat. As you've come to
Yeah.
learn, it's a it's a healing retreat. We don't fluff around, we don't talk around the issues. We go into it. But we don't go into it to look at it and pull it apart or to cause pain. There's no need for that. That's drama. Honestly, for me, that's absolute drama. And I don't need to feel the pain in order to feel that I can heal it and that I've overcome it. And now this is, it's an achievement. It can be graceful. As a woman's body, Our biology, I'm not even talking about spiritually, our biology is not designed for this constant heightened states of distress and the cortisol being flooded throughout the body. Men have a more robust genetic imprint to be able to handle that. We don't. Women's body just don't. So when stress starts to come through it, and it's there long term, we start to have health problems. Hello, chronic fatigue. Hello, ulcers. Hello, ovary problems, ovary cysts. Hello, thyroid problems. Hello, autoimmune disease. The list can go on. So when you look at women who have these ailments, they are stuck in a fight response. I have to fight for everything that I want. And it's an internal battle. You don't see them necessarily outwardly being aggressive. It's an internal battle of having to push, having to go, having to fight. And it's this and it's that. And then there's a breaking point. For some women, the breaking point is rage. For some, breaking point for women is a serious ailment. Breast cancer. It's a serious ailment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very real. But it can also be very psychosomatic.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying it's the case for all. However, it can be. It absolutely can be. Because when you look at what the traumas are and what this woman has been through, and you sit and you go, like, oh my God, you only have breast cancer, you would think that you would have more problems in meaning in terms of health-wise, right? So our body is very sacred. It's a very beautiful temple. And when a body shows an ailment, it's really showing you, I'm collapsing and I've absolutely done my best, but I don't know what to do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And sometimes, and the reason why that happens is because we are so stuck in survival mode that we've lost the sensitivity in our senses to sense when the body needs help, when the body is not doing well. You know, if you're so focused driving, right, you're looking at the road, you don't have time to sightsee. Oh, look at that nice tree. Oh, look at that lovely house. You don't have time to do that because you're so focused on the road, because it's life or death if you don't keep your eyes on the road. Now, that same stress response, right, that we have to keep our eye on the road because it's a responsible thing to do, we end up having that same approach to life. We get so stressed with things that we can't see. We're stressed about the future. We're stressed about things that we're trying to avoid. We don't even know what we're trying to avoid anymore because we get so stuck in that fight or flight response. We get almost addicted to this euphoric state, because when we are in that fight or flight response, we are in the state of hypervigilance, which means that we're more aware of what's going on around us. And that's where we feel safe, because I'm aware, I can see what's going on. My senses are tuning into everything. But that survival strategy, that's the very thing that drains the immune system. And if the immune system is drained, who's the gatekeeper then for viruses and bacteria coming into the body?
Right.
Because the immune system's focus is pulled into all these other things that, quite frankly, doesn't in most cases even matter. In most cases, it's attached to things that already happened in the past. But because trauma and memories are not consolidated correctly, the body stays in a state of being traumatized. And when women stay in that state of being traumatized, we get sick, men as well.
Yeah.
But you see, women have more ailment challenges, and women tend to have more psychosomatic challenges than men. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you said, we're built differently and we're more sensitive. And
Our masculinity is so wounded, and that means that our femininity is wounded. So these two parts, we need to heal them so that they can collaborate and sync with one another. Right?
yeah. Yeah.
And in order to do that, we need to redefine and build that sensitivity to come back into the body. But we avoid the body because this is where we feel the pain. And that's why some people do all these things outside of themselves, and you know, energy work and this and this, that, but they're not really going deep enough, because this is where it hurts.
Yeah.
And we're pain avoidant, right? Why would we want to go to the pain? So there's a lot of misconceptions of healing, and healing that can be done very gracefully and very gently and very beautifully. So this is one of the key lessons I myself learned, and why it's so important for me to do healing work and to not take a person to a moment where they have to relive it or where they have to go and meet the pain. There's no need for that. Just thinking of the stress is enough for the memories to come up, and then to consolidate the memories correctly between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. I mean, it's an art, but if you understand that art, it can be graceful and powerful and permanent. And
Yeah.
that's what I love to do at the retreats and also in MIT. So this is one of my gifts that I love to share with the world. And the retreats are designed for people who just want to come, they just want to heal, they want to stretch out their legs and relax and just take it all in, and not having to learn a technique or having to do a lot of the hard work. Because when women come to me, they're exhausted. They're absolutely exhausted. They burn out. Right? I've seen the worst of the worst. I've had women even lying on the floor for 5 days because they were so burned out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a healing retreat. There we heal.
Yes.
That's the short version of how my journey started.
Yeah.
And the love that I have and the appreciation that I have for doing body maintenance. If I did regular body maintenance, I wouldn't have had heart failure before I was 30 years old, right? No
Yes.
one should have to, pay with your life for emotions that's being suppressed. I mean, that was a very, very big lesson for me, and the biggest wake up call that I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, that's powerful. And like you said, body maintenance, if that was
It's
something,
yeah.
I just felt like so much confusion. And then I just kept getting sicker and sicker, even in my 20s, with all these things that I knew as a nurse. I was like, I know these 80-year-olds get this. How do I have hypertension and all of this?
Right.
It was all of the traumas. And I was always scanning for what could go wrong. And then and then I just kept getting more things, chronic fatigue, and then the autoimmune disorders. And then now that I've
Right.
healed the traumas, it's like all of them just went away, which is like, which makes sense now. But I do listen to my body. Of course, I've got your book here too. But anytime I get a symptom now, I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what is
I
this?
love that. Well done. That's
Yeah.
the greatest gift that you can give your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say that one thing that when I came to your retreat, I I just felt like I had been healing trauma for so many years and physical things, and I felt like I'm doing pretty good, you know? That's what I thought when I got there. I was like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be here. But I thought I had done all this work, and I had, and I was healed a lot from where I had started, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even I feel like what happened to me was we went so deep, like into the subconscious healing, that all of this stuff came up that I was like, I had no idea I felt this way. Like I had worked hard with affirmations and things to just like learn to love myself, raise my self-esteem. I definitely would have said I liked myself. I think I would have said I love myself even when I started that retreat. But then all of these feelings came up of like unconsciously, I had a lot of self like hatred for myself. And there was anger in there and all of these things that I on my own, I wouldn't have reached it because cognitively, I had healed everything that I was aware of. And then I thought, I feel really good. But that's, I think, just because I felt so bad before. So now I am super excited because it's like the ceiling's up now, right? It's like my body feels lighter than I've ever felt. And like I wake up with no pain and I feel younger all the time. I feel like a kid, like I never even felt, I realized as a kid how heavy my body felt. So it's like, oh, it feels really good. But I know that I wasn't getting there because I was actively doing the work, right? I've done all the
Yeah.
therapy, I'm doing all the
Yeah.
things, meditating, and all of those things I know are valuable and they help me. But it was the technique that you did and the way you got to those unconscious things, and then
Yeah.
with the questions, and then we all were at the end, we're all like, how did she do that? Because then you would do sound healings and all of your techniques, and it seemed very magical, but I know it's science, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of really
I know there's a
cool
lot of
cool
science
science
behind it.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just so grateful because truly I came home like just a totally different woman. And I really didn't even think about it was called Reveal the Woman Within. And I just went to Bali, your retreat, because I saw it and I felt my soul or something felt like you got to go. And I'm so glad I
Okay.
listened and I went
But
because I,
yours was quite last minute booking as well. It's like
yeah, it was
I'm like,
like,
oh, that's what she's adventurous.
yeah, it was very last minute
Yeah.
and it was very unlike how I normally have been very careful, very controlled, scanning, but something within me knew to go. So, and I know you've got a retreat coming up like this month. So,
So
um,
exciting.
yeah, I'm so excited too. So, like, for anyone who is watching this or listening to this, like, if you're feeling just that call, just to go, then don't second guess it. Because I'm so grateful that I didn't think all of the reasons, oh, I'll go later or something. And I went and it transformed my life truly and really healed like all these deep layers that is like change. So I just want people to go and experience your retreat. And also the fact that it's in Bali, to me, I felt like that was also a level of the healing, like being in Bali. I felt very safe also to go deeper because I was away, very far away from all the people that have abused me before, which I didn't even realize how unsafe that I still felt until I got there and I realized like exhale deeper too, of like it's more safe to like really, and of course you created a beautiful container and all the women there and everything was so like loving and I knew I was held and supported. And so yeah, I'm really excited. Like I tell so many people like to go to Bali, go on this retreat. Like
Mhm.
it's just it changed. And I think what was cool is we all had different issues, all the women there. Like
Yeah.
it's not like, I mean, I happen to have experienced a lot of trauma in my life, but
Mhm.
from what I understood, a lot of the women there didn't have necessarily what we think of big T trauma or anything, but they all got changes. We all got to
Yeah.
experience that. And and then can I share what was like my favorite part of your retreat?
Yes, please. We would love I would also love to know. Yeah.
Okay, my favorite part was at the end, the very last day, we went to the healing waterfall.
Oh yes.
And that was so beautiful because we'd been working every day and releasing and releasing. And then the last day we got to go, of course, is a magnificent temple and it's just a beautiful, gorgeous waterfall. But you had the shaman there and like just all the love that was felt. And then when the water hit, we went into that healing waterfall. It's like I just felt so much release out of my body that I had no idea was in there. Like just like
Yeah.
it was powerful. It was so
Yeah.
powerful. So I love that you had that at the very end too, because it was like opening, 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 and then it was like,
Because that's where
yeah,
Yoko and I was
I wear
standing
my
behind
bracelet.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
because we were standing behind you, and that was the final release where we both
yeah.
did
I know you were working
the
also in helping
integration.
with the
Yeah.
energy and integrating it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I
the
truly,
waterfall is also special.
yeah, it was. It was like I have to say
Yeah.
something about that also opened me up to like, wow, the world is a little bit more magical than I knew it was because, like I said, I know there is science and all of your techniques, of course, are backed by that. But there's also was just like there's some magical spiritual support that we're
Natural
also
science in
getting
Mother Nature.
that
Yeah.
that I got to really experience it going
Yeah.
under that waterfall. It's like something took over. So, I mean, I loved it all. Everything was wonderful, but yeah, I would say that was my favorite part. Yeah.
Mine too, also. It was also, I think everyone, when once we're done with that and we all come back to the resort, everyone is just, you can feel everyone's energy just
Yeah.
feels so tranquil and so serene. Like it's a joy to see everyone just, it's almost like a nervous system reset, right?
Yeah. You could see it when all the women, we were just so like we were so different. Our nervous systems we were relaxed, but then we were like really renewed. Like I could see it in all the women after too. So that was like really, really cool and powerful to also see. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I'm gonna definitely link for your retreat. I cannot highly recommend people to go to her retreat enough. Like it's for every woman, I would say, because everyone has something, like you said, like
Mm,
you've got something to heal. And
yeah.
so yeah, I'm just so grateful. I truly came back and then my life started shifting. When I came back, wasn't operating out of fear anymore. I realized, oh, I'm really not
Right.
afraid. I really don't care what people think about me. Oh, I really love myself and I took care of myself in a different way. And I started like just making changes, like this podcast being one of them. I was like, I want to do what I really enjoy doing. And I just didn't have like any like fear or judgments. But before I had like this inner critic and it was like finally
Right.
gone, you know?
I'm
Yeah.
so happy for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So happy
So
for you. And congratulations to you as well. And your body is also probably thriving because of that.
it is. My body feels so
Yeah.
good. And every day I'm so grateful. I wake up and I'm like, no pain. I have energy like all day. So I feel like just a whole new life of like, what do I get to do now? Like, uh, because my body feels better than it did when I was 20. So I feel like this is like
Wonderful.
aging in reverse, you know? And then definitely like like you said, do the maintenance because when I feel sick or I feel
Yeah.
something, I'm like, I need to go do more breath work. I need to meditate more. Like everything's
Good.
gonna stop because my health and my body's like number one. And I can't let things pile up again because it's,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like having a car. Anyone that has ever had a car, you take it for regular services. Otherwise, the car is going to become faulty. The body is exactly the same. It's
yeah.
exactly the same. Even just for general checkup, every year I have just a general checkup. I love to exercise regularly. I eat healthy. I have specific health boundaries with myself because I know my body needs it. It's good for my body. So, and one thing that I just want to add here before we wrap up is
Mhm.
just for women to think about it if you're listening. It's hard to heal something if you don't value it. I cannot tell you how many people I have worked with, and then I tell them, and then they, oh, Evette, I have all these mental health problems, I have all this anxiety and depression, all this, that. I say, okay. So tell me, give me your top 5 values in life. What is most important for you in life? They name everything except their health.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, you want to get better and you don't value the very thing that you are trying to invest in healing?
Mhm.
We need to get our priorities right.
Yeah.
Right? We need to start valuing our health and not value it when there is a problem, because it's great when things are going well, we don't pay attention. And by the time there's a problem, we're
Mhm.
in damage control mode. That's not now a warning. Now we're past the warning. You
Right.
missed the warning, right?
Right.
And it's because we're so frozen, we're so desensitized, we're in such powerful disassociative states. We can't integrate our memories. And when that means you can't integrate your life, being disassociated in life is a trauma in itself, because when you are disintegrated, what you think and feels, it's like this feeling that you're like a fish in a bubble or in a bowl. You feel like life is kind of like happening outside of you. Or we don't really feel in tune with our reality. We don't really feel safe with what we can and we should not do. What is my favorite food? Really, I don't know. What's my favorite color? I don't really know.
Yeah.
When we start to have this disconnected sense of self, that in itself becomes a secondary trauma to
Yeah.
live like that, right? So now we're stuck in survival mode, but now we're trying to survive the symptoms that's left as a result of us trying to survive. So you see how it almost like exacerbates an existing problem.
Yeah.
So this is why it's so incredibly important. It's not just about healing the trauma. It's about integrating the trauma in a non-traumatic way. People's memories come back. People's clarity comes back, right? Yeah, because the left and the right hemisphere can finally sync and we can live life coherently. The nervous system can regulate itself. Everything regulates.
Yeah.
That is a gift that every person should feel worthy of giving themselves. Because
Absolutely.
that's when you're really truly living life, is when you can live an integrated life.
Yes. Yes. I love that. And it's so true. And it's like, I felt like I was living a half life before. And now I feel like I'm alive. I can
That's it.
integrate, like you said, you balanced us and with the sessions. And um, especially like I know you said for everyone, and of course for everyone, but for women especially, like I just
Yeah.
want to share so much all the time. Like take care of you above
Yeah.
everything, because that's going to help your kids, your family. You know, so that's my biggest messages to women's is just like take care of you, number one, and really love and value yourself, and
Yeah.
then that's going to spill over. You're going to have more energy to take care of your family, and it's good for our children to see like a happy, I wish I had this earlier in
Right.
life so that my children could see a mom who's just like balanced and happy and like, not hyper vigilant or whatever. So, but they're seeing it now. And so it doesn't even matter like your age, it affects everyone around you. They
Yeah.
can feel that energy,
Mm.
so.
And I call that energy, and that's the energy that causes us to feel ungrounded in our dynamics as well. But also remember that there are soul contracts as well. So, you know, sometimes we go through our learning journeys, but our kids are also going through theirs. And sometimes we choose people around us to help us with certain journeys in our lives as well.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good,
And
that's
I
a
like to tell women always, even if we feel in the past, which I also am a parent as well, where we have had our mistakes, I always believe that we we no parent, no person, even if you're not a parent, no person wakes up thinking, how much can I ruin my life today? We don't do that. Every day we give our best, even if it doesn't feel like it, because if you could have done better, then you would have, but you didn't in that moment. So
right.
let go of the judgment. Accept that you did your best. And now you can continue to use that as a reference to build and build and build from that. Right? So there's always these positive, constructive ways of turning things around. And that's called being self compassionate. That's
Yeah.
self compassion,
Yeah,
right?
that's powerful. And I feel like I have that for the first time, and I didn't realize I was very compassionate to other people, but now
Yeah.
I'm very kind and
You.
gentle to myself. If I make a mistake or whatever, I'm just like, you did your best. And of course, I'm not aiming for that, but it's such a gift that everybody should have, definitely, to just be kind and gentle to yourself and have compassion. So.
That's it.
Yeah. Is there anything else? What do you feel like anything else you'd like to share before we go for people, for women?
Yeah. The message honestly really is just that if you feel that you have to fight for what you want, then you're not in your power.
Oh,
You're
that's
not
good.
in your power.
Mhm.
A woman in her power knows that she can have what she needs. Sometimes timing is an essence of it, but women who are not in their power, we tend to fall into a victim state. We tend to fall into a state of powerlessness. And when we're in that state, that's the hardest vibration to manifest from. The
Oh,
hardest vibration to manifest from. You're not in alignment with what you want and need.
mhm.
So always remember that if you are in fight mode, you are not in your power. You don't feel deserving of what you want. And it's going to feel harder to have that then. So start to build just this little sensitivity that can really start to make or break moments like that. And then ask yourself right there in that moment, what thought can I now entertain, or what small step can I take towards my power?
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
It's simple, small. It doesn't have to be big. Anything small. Do something quickly that can just get you back into your power, or look at a picture of a time when you were. Think of a time when you had great success, but bring that vibration of empowerment forward immediately so that the disempowerment doesn't have a chance to escalate.
That's
So I
powerful.
do hope that that helps. This is how I started to change and rewire my mind.
Yes. Rewire, like you said, they would change
That's
everything.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for people who don't know about you yet to find out more. And I'll link all your social media, your retreats. Go to one of her beautiful retreats. And then, of course, your metaphysical anatomy, everything where people can find you. And you have a podcast too and YouTube. So I'll put that as well.
Yes, yes, heal now. Yeah, we have that one as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you so much for
So beautiful to
inviting
see you
me.
again.
a wonderful day. And thank you for everyone else. Be the light that you are, ladies.
Oh, yes, that's right. Heal the world. Go be a bright, shine your bright light. Bye, Yvette.